In the video about the monatomic cations and anions, we said that the monatomic cations are really easy to name. They're the ones that are in group 1 and 2, and also aluminum over on the other side. And you just take the metal name and you stick the word ion after it. Sodium ion, calcium ion, aluminum ion, that kind of thing. But what if I asked you to tell me, or to do something about iron ion, or chromium ion? You wouldn't know what to do because they're both transition metals, and most of the transition metals can take more than one possible charge, commonly, and then a bunch of uncommon charges too. So for example, you're going to find chromium 2 and 3 out there in the environment. If you look at your skin and you find one of those blue veins, that's iron 2. Your red veins or red blood is iron 3+. So obviously we are going to care a lot about these transition metals and all of these different charge states. Now, the systematic nomenclature is the very straightforward system, and it's the one that the TRO textbook and all the others teach. We're also going to add some of the what's called trivial nomenclature to that as well. Now, the way systematic nomenclature works, you take whatever the metal is and you look at the charge that's there. Whatever that charge is, you just write the metal with no spaces. You put the word the parenthesis, the Roman numeral for that charge, and you close your parenthesis. In other words, for cobalt 2+, you'd write cobalt no space 2, end of parentheses. Now we don't need to put a plus sign in there because we already know we're talking about cations if we're talking about a metal and we're putting the Roman numerals in like this. They're the only ones that get that treatment, so we don't need to put the plus sign on it. Now that said, those go very easily. The problem is, if you've ever done an experiment in a high school chemistry class or something before, or you had a chemistry set as a kid, you may have had ferric ammonium sulfate. Or you may have heard, if you've read a lot of Latin, that there's a very ferrous smell, or just if you like a lot of history. If it's a ferrous smell, that tells you that you're smelling a lot of iron, and you're smelling just the scent of blood. We have a ferrous smell in the water here in Southwest Florida because there's so much iron in our groundwater. Well, the thing is, I mentioned iron as being one of the ones that can have multiple charge states a moment ago. Ferrous and ferric are telling us two different charges, and that goes back to the old Latin system. Now, the small charge is going to have the OUS ending, and the bigger of the two charges will be the IC ending. So you can see here that all of these pluses, these are all just what you'd expect. These are the straightforward ones where you use the ion. It can only have one charge state, so you just call it that atom, ion. And that's true for all these, but what about all the ones over here? We're going to have copper 1. That's the systematic nomenclature. The trivial nomenclature for it is cuprous ion. All right, so let's see. And now, just to show, copper 2+ is going to be the cupric ion. Cupros was the small, cupric was the big one. Iron 2 and iron 3. So iron 2+ and iron 3+. Iron 2+ is the small one. This would be ferrous. Of course, there we are. Ferrous, and this will be ferric. There we are. It gets the IC ending. Now, how did we go from the word iron to fair as the beginning? Well, remember how I mentioned earlier the language Latin? Many of these have been known since antiquity. And so the ones that are really, really old and well known, going back centuries, they already had names. Like copper was cupris, or cobalt, straightforward. Cupric, again. Ferrous for iron. Let's see, we have plumbus for lead. Where do you think the word plumbing came from? Plumbus. They made lead pipes way back when, before they knew that that was slowly killing them. Tin was Stannis. If you're reading the Game of Thrones series, Stannis Baratheon would be a very tin-like man, which is kind of a strange way to think of somebody who's supposed to be hard, because using his name, he sure sounds brittle to me. But this gives you a bit of an idea of what's going on with their trivial nomenclature. I strongly urge you to at least, bare minimum, know this rule. I also strongly encourage you to know the really common atoms and their weird words like ferrous for iron or cuprous for copper. Those are going to serve you very well. And, oh yeah, and also lead for plumbus. So you'll want to do some memorization for these. Unfortunately, this one is pretty much brute force memorization.